Listen, we got Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee on with us this morning. The bill that will make Juneteenth a new federal holiday is on President Biden's desk. The bill passed the House yesterday after the Senate passed legislation on Tuesday. And the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act will grant every federal employee a day off to commemorate June 19th, 1865. And that's the day enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, discovered that President Abraham Lincoln Emancipation Proclamation had freed them 2.5 years earlier. Now, one of those bills sponsors is Democratic Representative Sheila Jackson-Lee of Texas, and she's joining us on the phone. Good morning, and congratulations, Congresswoman Lee. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so very much.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming on. Today 47 states and Washington, D.C. recognize Juneteenth as either a state holiday or a ceremonial holiday. Why do you believe that it is important to make this a federal holiday?
Well, thank you. First of all, let me thank all of my House colleagues that were remarkable yesterday. We introduced H.R. 1320, which is the bill that the Senate passed the day before. We're so honored that what we think this represents, as I've been getting calls from across the country, is a recognition that our history counts. We too are Americans, and everyone can believe in the value of freedom. And we did not have freedom. Slaves did not have freedoms. I think it's important to note that this is only the 11th federal holiday, and it is the only holiday in 41 years. The last federal holiday was Martin Luther King, and that is only two that reflect the distinct history of African Americans. It is important because it means we count. We're valued. Slavery cannot be hushed away. It can be talked about, and we can stand up against those movements that would want us not to discuss our distinct history. And just for a moment, Rickey, to speak to the generations that are somewhat younger and of a different mindset, what does a holiday mean? I would caution them, it means hope. It means affirmation. It means that you keep on working. You keep on working for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. You keep on working for voting rights. You keep on working for H.R. 40, the Commission to Study Reparations. But you keep on walking to be able to assure that black people and all people in America have the best of the opportunities in this country. A holiday affirms us. It gets us to be on the national profile and scene.
Well, I have a question. For those who aren't familiar, will you explain the significance of the June 19th, 1865 date? Because some people don't know.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
1863, President Lincoln, who unfortunately was assassinated, proclaimed the slaves free in America. We could no longer be property. We were property. We were property in the Constitution. We did not count. We were not counted in the Constitution. And he declared that we could no longer be property. It was a few months later that the 13th Amendment ended slavery. But yet, 250,000 slaves west of the Mississippi knew nothing. We could not read. We did not get noticed. We did not get communicated with, as one of my colleagues indicated. And in doing so, we did not know. We were enslaved. We were, as they say, still slaving away. And so it took 2.5 years for General Granger to land on the shores of Galveston to be able to announce that the slaves were now free and they were no longer the property of their masters. The new terminology that they used was employer and employee. But I can assure you that thousands upon thousands of slaves, once that was announced, made their way up a trail that we now call, out of the bill that I passed with my colleague Senator Cornyn, the Emancipation Trail. It gives me a moment to be able to thank Senator Cornyn, Senator Markey, to be able to thank the Democratic House leadership that did a miracle. It is miraculous to get a bill passed in one day with a rule, a debate, another debate, and then a vote of 415 Republicans and Democrats to 14 noes. 415 yeas to 14 noes. Maybe there's hope as we try to fight for social and racial equity, social justice and racial equity. That's what I take away from it. And every day I say a definition about this, I say freedom. And the Congressional Black Caucus strongly supporting me for 12 years on this legislation, Chairwoman Joyce Beatty, freedom. So this is not the end. It is simply the beginning. What an amazing moment to have your holiday know about slavery and the fact that we were not free for 2.5 extra years we slaved in those fields.
Congresswoman Sheila Jackson, I want to know, how do you guys celebrate in Texas? Because not everyone around the country grew up celebrating Juneteenth, but in Texas, it's very big. So how do you guys celebrate in your city?
Oh, all over. And, of course, you know, the father of Juneteenth was, of course, Representative Al Edwards, the late Al Edwards. His family is still strong in this movement. Opal Lee is 94 years old, brought 1.6 million petitions from these are Texans from Texas and around the nation to the Capitol last year. A very, very hot day that she brought them. What we do in Texas is that it is amazing. It's all over the state. We have festivals. We have family gatherings. We have very serious commemoration. I will be in Galveston on that very day at where the trail and where Captain Granger came. We'll be unveiling a historic mural. We'll be seeing the persons who have been the advocates for 50 years for the holiday. I'll be there with, of course, Senator Cornyn, and a Texas senator, and we will be both serious, emotional, and joyful. There's a lot of food. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of family engagement. There's a lot of community engagement. So you can be assured there's going to be popping up Juneteenth all over Texas and all over the states. By the way, 47 states celebrate Juneteenth. And it's amazing that there are events all over. When I was on the floor, my managers of the bill, meaning they were calling on the members to speak, they're from Pennsylvania. They will be celebrating Juneteenth as they have before on June 19th. It is now an amazing holiday. Again, it affirms us. We count even more. There's hope, and it gives us the pathway to ask. When they say George Floyd, we say, why not? When they say voting rights, we say, why not? When they say HR 40, we say, why not? This holiday is, I believe, a way of a game changer. So there's a lot of fun in our holidays down in Texas, a lot of music, but a lot of seriousness, contemplation, prayer, and recognition of the slavery and the brutality of that life. And it was very brutal.
All right, how do you celebrate Juneteenth in your city? Call us up at 866-9-RICKY. What plans do you have to celebrate Juneteenth this year? And if you do not usually celebrate it, will you start it now and it's becoming a federal holiday? And I have to say, growing up in Birmingham, I didn't learn about Juneteenth until I moved to Dallas, Texas. And that's true. I would be not telling the truth if I said anything otherwise. You know, we are over here, closer to Atlanta. I grew up, big civil rights advocate, and 2 hours from Atlanta in Selma and Montgomery. And Juneteenth, I remember moving to Delaware. Like, what is Juneteenth? I probably heard of it before, but it just wasn't taught in our at our elementary school and high school. But I am so excited that y'all got this bill passed. Let's go to the phones. You're on with Sheila Jackson Lee. Good morning.
Hey, this is Tyler Way from Jackson, Mississippi. And I used to celebrate Juneteenth by taking off and doing my own thing. But then I said, you know what, I'm going to start informing everybody that don't know. So now I still go to work on Juneteenth. But anybody that don't know about it, I always tell them about it. And then we throw down on the grill when we get off.
Hey, my name is Betty Holloway. I'm from originally Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In Milwaukee, my grandparents moved there in 1921. Juneteenth has always been celebrated in Milwaukee as from a child on up because so many people from Texas had relocated to Milwaukee. Parties, parades, barbecues every year.
My name is Roderick. I'm calling from Miami-Dade County, and how I celebrate Juneteenth is by promoting other black-owned businesses as well as my own.
My name is Shantae. I am calling from Lawton, Oklahoma. I grew up in Galveston. I'm originally from Galveston, Texas, and the way we used to celebrate it is that we would do the Freedom Walk from the church where the slaves first found out, and we would do the Freedom Walk to the courtroom to hear the proclamation being read, and that would happen every year. How I celebrate it now is kind of like the 4th of July. I have a barbecue, I cook out, or go hang out on the beach.
Oh, wow. Appreciate those calls. Congresswoman, you want to respond?
Well, I think what it does is it says that we have been honoring our own history even without. Now, America, African Americans, descendants of enslaved Africans, your government with President Biden signing this just a few hours from now, with Speaker Pelosi signing an enrollment bill just about an hour from now, you are further affirmed. Your slave history is no longer silent. And as Rickey has said, let no little child, black or white, Hispanic or otherwise, grow up without knowing the burden of slavery, the brutality of slavery, America's original sin, and what we need to do now for America to reach her most perfect union. I think that is what we say when Juneteenth comes. It is about freedom. And the reading of the proclamation was for those ears who could not read to be able to know two things. They were free. No longer property. They were free. That is an amazing, powerful statement. That's what Dr. King came to fight for, the freedom of our ability to be Americans as we are. Now, Juneteenth, acknowledging slavery. There is nothing national, public, that acknowledges the original sin of slavery. That's why we want H.R. 40, but nothing acknowledges it. Now, Juneteenth, someone will ask, what is Juneteenth? There were slaves. The story then begins. And we never lose the history, never lose the story, and never lose the power of our ancestors who survived and became free. Let us cherish that freedom, fight for that freedom, support our young people in their fight for their freedom. Black Lives Matter and others, let us fight for freedom. That's what I believe we did on that floor, and we did it with Republicans and Democrats and people that look different from us. We did it as Americans, and that's what freedom should be. Every American has their freedom.
Every time I see you, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, I think about my favorite middle school principal, my favorite high school principal, my Sunday school teacher, and the guest speaker of Women's Day programs all over the country. You are just absolutely lovable. Every time I see you, I give you a big old hug. I just absolutely love you, and I always have. I've been following you since the Clinton administration, so
oh boy.
I've been a fan for years. Thank you so much, and thank you for everything that you do. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for United States House of Representatives and Houston's own Sheila Jackson Lee, and congratulations again for your work in getting this Juneteenth legislation passed. And we know it was a long day for you yesterday, so thank you for joining us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yes, sir.